You are listening to the Beyond Canon podcast. Welcome to the Beyond Canon podcast. Let me introduce briefly today's speaker. Professor Dr. Andreas Merkt was born in Karlsruhe in 1967. He is married and has 4 children. He holds diplomas in Catholic theology and philosophy, wrote his dissertation in Catholic theology, and finished his habilitation in ancient church history, patrology, and Christian archaeology. One of his biggest passions is playing soccer. His professional background involves several career stages in Frankfurt, Mainz, Munich, and Tübingen. He received a Heisenberg Scholarship from the German Research Foundation in 2001. And in the same year, he got his call to the chair of historical theology in Regensburg. Since 2004, he has been head of the research group Novum Testamentum Patristicum. From 2010 to 2018, he was president of the Society of Church Historians in the German-speaking world. And in 2018, he co-founded the Center for Advanced Studies Beyond Canon, together with his colleagues Tobias Niklas and Harald Buchinger in Regensburg. His current fields of research are the cultural history of death in early Christianity and late antiquity, as well as metacanonical and parabiblical traditions and their relation to material culture from early Christianity to early Islam. In this episode of the Beyond Canon podcast, Andreas Merkt tells us how Jesus' footprint points to the very nucleus of Christian identity. Enjoy!
In our Center for Advanced Studies, we study traditions, that is, texts, objects, and rituals that go beyond the biblical canon. One of the most interesting and meaningful of such metacanonical or parabiblical phenomena is the footprint of Jesus. It is a prime example for the interplay of texts, material culture, and rituals. To the present day, Christians and Muslims venerate this indentation in a rock on the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. Allegedly, this is Christ's last footprint he left when ascending to heaven. For a long time, the humanities neglected such phenomena. They focused on products of human culture such as literature and the arts. But they hardly dealt with things, with material objects, unless they were genuine artifacts. Popular material culture was not considered a subject suited for academics. This has changed. In parts of the humanities, we witness a genuine material turn. This trend towards things was legitimized by some eminent thinkers. One of them was the German philosopher Martin Heidegger. In 1950, he declared in the Bavarian Academy of Arts, "Das Ding dingt." His audience were surprised because he had invented a new verb derived from the German noun ding, thing. The thing thinks. What he wanted to say, things are not only passive, not only objects waiting to be used by humans, but by their very existence, they are active, they exert an impact. This idea of things playing an active role has been enhanced by the French sociologist Bruno Latour in his actor network theory. Things, he claims, function like humans as actors in a network. The gun in the living room is such an actor. It is not passive and neutral until it is used by someone, but by its very presence, it operates and has an effect on the persons living with it. The material turn has also reached religious studies. In 2005, a journal called Material Religion was launched. Nevertheless, theologians are still hesitant when it comes to such phenomena which have been dismissed as evidence of superstition and irrational and infantile belief. So let us ask, is there a theological meaning of the footprint? And how can we find out what it is? Now, thing theorists remind us of a simple truth. Objects don't talk. They are mute. They derive their meaning from their context and from texts. One of the pioneers of thing theory, the French philosopher Roland Barthes, studied everyday commodities of post-war France and came to the conclusion that they received their meaning by what he called myths, certain collective narratives, narratives that express ideas and values shared by a community. The meaning of a thing has to be conjectured or generated on the basis of such narratives. Is there a myth, a narrative, that makes the footprint talk? Yes, there is, but in this case it is a counter-narrative which makes the object talk by contrast. In the Acts of John, probably a late 2nd century text, the Apostle John narrates what he experienced while he was with Jesus. Often while walking with him, I tried to see if he left a footprint in the ground, but observing that he held himself suspended above the earth, I never saw a footprint. This text did not find its way into the biblical canon. When it was written, the Gospels that have become part of the Bible were already regarded as holy writings in most parts of the Church. The Acts of John contradict the image of Christ conveyed in the canonical Gospels. Mark, Matthew, and Luke describe Jesus as a real human person who was born, was wrapped in diapers, grew up, ate and drank, suffered and died. However, soon after his death, people began to worship Jesus as a divine being, a being that had existed long before the human Jesus was born. The Apostle Paul quotes a hymn sung by the first generation of Christ followers. Although he was in the form of God, he emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men. Indeed, some early Christians, like the author of the Acts of John, stressed his divine origin so much that they denied his humanity. Sometimes these people are called Gnostics, a term that would deserve a podcast of its own. In late antiquity, especially in the 5th and 6th centuries, serious discussions came up about Christ's body. Could it perish? And did Jesus eat and have digestion? This discourse on Christ's body was not restricted to theological discussions. Material culture came into play. The diapers of baby Jesus turned up as material proof that Jesus was a human person having digestion. Now his footprints are another evidence of Christ's humanity. Like the diapers, they reflect and confirm the narrative of the canonical Gospels. The footprint is what the art historian William Mitchell in his picture theory has called a hyper-icon, a kind of summary image which encapsulates an entire episteme, a system of knowledge. It does not only express the central Christian idea of God becoming human, but also comprises the consequences of this doctrine, such as a revaluation of the material world and the human body. Matter, and especially the body, have been dignified by God having become incarnate. The doctrine has also ethical consequences. If Jesus really was one of us, he can serve as a model. Christ left you an example, we read in the first letter of Peter, that you should follow in his steps. This following in his footsteps was not only understood ethically, but also quite practically as a call for going on a pilgrimage. The footprint on the Mount of Olives was the destination of a pilgrim's path. Pilgrims followed the way that Jesus took from the Jordan to the Mount of Olives. It ended, as John Climacus says when describing this path, where Jesus put his foot on the starting line and ascended amidst cheers. Let us conclude. Religious objects, like the footprint of Jesus, are endowed with meaning through collective narratives, such as the canonical Gospels, as opposed to apocryphal stories. They are often embedded in cultural practices like the pilgrimage to the Mount of Olives. Hence, theological ideas are transmitted by an interplay of narrative, material, and performative theology. Of course, there is much more to say about religious objects and their function, and there are many other footprints of Jesus, but also other emblematic signs testifying to an unlikely presence. I will return to the topic.
Thank you for listening to the Beyond Canon podcast.